Vimanam kamagam shatash tarhi eva virachikarat Maitrevacha priyaha priyam anivichan Kardamo yogam mastita Vimanam kamagam shatash tarhi eva virachikarat Maitrevacha priyaya priyam anivichan Kardamo yogam mastita Vimanam kamagam kshtas tarhi eva virachkarat. Synonyms, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Maitreya, the great sage, Uvacha said, Priyaya, of his beloved wife, Priyam, the pleasure, Anivichan, seeking, Kardama, the great sage, Yogam, yogic power, Astita, exercise, Vimanam, an airplane, Kamagam, moving at will, Shatah, O Vidur, Tarhi, instantly, Eva, quite, Avirachikarat, produced. Translation. Maitreya continued, O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Kardama exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. Purport. Here, the words yoga astita are significant. The sage Kardama was completely perfect in yoga. As the result of real yoga practice, there are 8 kinds of perfection. The yogi can become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, or lighter than the lightest. He can achieve anything he likes. He can even create a planet. He can establish influence over anyone, etc. In this way, yogic perfection is achieved. And after this, one can achieve the perfection of spiritual life. Thus, it is not very wonderful for Kardama Muni to create a mansion in the air according to his own desire, to fulfill the desire of his beloved wife. He at once created the palace, which is described in the following verses. Hare Krishna. We will chant the Mangalacharan prayer to invoke auspiciousness before we start class. Om Agnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhantamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishnavanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Putale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bhutaneshmati Radhana Saniti Namini. Hare Krishna. So today the discussion will be understanding yoga, its purpose, and what the goal and the best way to go about doing yoga. I would like to offer my thanks and gratitude to His Grace Gopikant Prabhu. He had a few days back in the Gita summary made an excellent presentation, and I have borrowed some of his presentation slides that has helped me prepare for this one. So thank you. And last evening when I asked Prabhu to share it, he willingly, immediately he shared it. And I was struck by this gesture. And I had a realization several years ago when I was a kid. My father had said that knowledge is nobody's proprietorship. No one has proprietorship over knowledge. And whatever you know, when you share it with others, it not only grows, but you yourself get to understand this, the topic much better. So, Gopikant Prabhu, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So what we will go over today, a quick overview of Bhagavatam. Then what is yoga actually? Yoga has become very popular. I think it's some $100, $100 billion or more industry. So much so it's become a fashion. You know, they even have something called goat yoga, where amongst all the goats, and even the goat does stool on you and you're doing yoga. And then you have a very hot room and they strip you down to your underclothes and they make you do yoga. And there are different types and flavors of yogas which have come out. But we'll try and understand what yoga actually means. And then what are the different types of yoga and what is suited for whom. Then there are these siddhis which we heard about, right? Kardama Muni creates a palace in the sky for his wife Devahuti when she desires it. Now, are these just fairy tales? Is it an allegorical thing for something else? Or is it factual? So we'll understand that. And the scriptures have many such mind-bending and unbelievable, one may say, things and pastimes in it. So how do you actually understand it? Do we get baffled? Or do you actually understand what the essence is and how to go about doing that? Then the perfect state, what's the ultimate yoga? There are different types of yoga. What is the ultimate type? And then how we could get to this ultimate type. Hare Krishna. So Bhagavatam overview, you know, it is part of the 18 Puranas. Purana means old, timeless. You can't put a timestamp on it that it happened 10,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 100 years ago. No, it is timeless. So it deals with these 5 subject matters, the creation, sarga, visarga, you know, partial annihilation, total annihilation, you know, who the demigods are, so on and so forth, many. And then, of course, the history of the Yadu and even Shri Ram, the Sun dynasty. It gives detailed explanations. And what this Purana is, the purpose is, it is, as time goes by, man becomes degraded. I remember as a child in school, for our English literature class, we studied an essay from George Bernard Shaw, the famous English playwright. And he had written how wealth accumulates and men decay. So we can see now there are people, several people who are billionaires and companies which have market capitalization of several $1 trillion. And, these numbers are mind-boggling, the amount of wealth creation. But still, if we see the consciousness of man is getting, it's inversely proportional, getting more self-centered, getting degraded, one may say. Children need sleeping pills to go to sleep. Children take weapons of war, walk into school and just kill other kids. So it's quite ghastly. And we can see this, it's happening in our, we witness it. It's not something happening on some other planet or some other country. It's happening in our backyard. It's happening to us. Our consciousness is getting so degraded. So Puranas is meant to uplift the consciousness. And as such, it is classified in these 3 sections of 6 Puranas each. Then people in the mode of ignorance, goodness, and passion, accordingly, gradually it can elevate the consciousness. So Bhagavad Purana is considered the simplest Purana because that subject matter deals with Krishna and Krishna's, whatever are the pastimes. Bhagavad Gita is the song of Krishna, what Krishna's instructions he gives Arjuna on the battlefield. However, Bhagavad Purana is about Krishna and his devotee. And then we say this prayer, right? Nashtaprayashu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. It translates to anyone who reads or narrates the Bhagavatam regularly is assured of destruction of his miseries and develops love for God. That's the entire purpose of anything that we do in our life, not just reading the Bhagavatam or sharing Bhagavatam with others. Anything we do is to develop love for Krishna. Hare Krishna. So today's text speaks specifically about this yogic siddhi, Kardama Muni, the perfect yogi, and how he builds a floating palace in the air for Mother Devahuti. So yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yuj. Yuj means to connect, to have union. Okay. Now our current state is our self is disconnected from Krishna. That is our current state. And yoga is the process which brings the union of the self to Krishna. That's what it is. So it will elevate us from this disconnected state where we've turned our back to Krishna. And yoga is we face towards Krishna. Dhanodhar Swami had given a very good example of what illusion is. Actually, no one can turn their back from Krishna. He says that, you could turn your back from me because we are localized. We are just localized. But Krishna is everywhere. There's no place in the creation where Krishna isn't there. He's there even within the space of the atoms. So if I'm a localized person and you turn my back away from me, if I turn away, I'll be facing somewhere else. But not so with Krishna, because if you turn back, Krishna is there. If you turn right, he's there, left, up, down, anywhere. Krishna is all over. So how can you turn your back towards Krishna? It is only possible in an illusion. That's why we say this material world, the material conditioning is an illusion, because illusion, like a dream, anything is possible. Not reality, anything is possible. Hare Krishna. So yoga is this process of getting rid of that illusion and what are real consciousnesses. What the real consciousness is, getting and tapping into that, which will be Krishna, conscious of Krishna, Krishna conscious. Very important point. Yoga doesn't mean that one merges into the body of Krishna. Yes, there are processes with which you could attain that. The monists, the Mayavadis, that goal, the ultimate goal is to merge in the effulgence of Krishna. But that is a very partial and incomplete realization. So yoga means to connect one's consciousness with Krishna, to face the Krishna. Maya hoy andakar Krishna Surya. What is that in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Jaha hoy Krishna taha Maya nahi adhikar. I'm sorry, I don't remember the...
कृष्ण सूर्य सम माया है अंधकार, यहाँ कृष्ण व नहीं माया अधिकार.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. So what this means is that Krishna is like sunlight. Huh? Krishna is like sunlight and Maya is all darkness. Darkness, there is no separate quality like darkness. You know, physics also says that. Because if there was darkness, you could have light here, and in a lighted room, you could have one area which is all dark. No, that's not possible, right? Darkness is nothing but the absence of light. So Krishna is the sunlight. And darkness, this ignorance, this illusion is Maya. Maya is that illusion. Now, if you look at it, as if you're standing in the sun, you turn your back to the sun, what you'll see over there in front, your shadow, darkness. However, if you're facing the sun, there is no question of darkness. So here is where the consciousness of ours is in deep, deep, deep darkness. And this darkness, yoga is the process. You could look at it as switching on a light. The light is already there, that light bulb is already there in us. It's already there, that consciousness, spiritual consciousness is already there. And yoga is the process of how you just turn the light on. Hare Krishna. Now, there are these different types of yoga, and this is how Gopikant Prabhu had explained a few days back. So you could look at it as a ladder. In the current state, we are like a conditioned life, almost animalistic. All that we are focused on, self-centered, I, me, myself, mine, towards eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. The reason we say animal is because the intent and the purpose is exact same like the animal only. Nothing, the higher intellect is just used to make it more sophisticated. Prabhupada said, dog runs on four legs, we run on four wheels. Huh? We made we made gasoline cars polluting the environment, running on four wheels. Theek hai. Now you have electric cars, which doesn't run on gasoline, not as polluting on the environment, but still running on four wheels. Same kind of a dog mentality, and we take great pride in it. We take great pride in it. The animal fight with his teeth and claws, with his fangs and his claws. We fight with bullets and bombs. That's it, more sophisticated. So it's really misuse of this higher intellect. And when they say man is a rational animal. So from that life, to gradually progress to what is the perfected, the highest state of consciousness, there are these different steps. Karma yoga, do prescribed things, don't do anything and everything impulsively just for this eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Then the knowledge of who you are, knowledge of reality, jnana yoga. Then it comes to this Ashtanga yoga, part of the Hatha yoga. It's basically certain postures and certain processes which can then totally discipline the mind, because at the end of the day, it comes to the mind, which is like a wild animal running here and there, very chanchal. And then you have this bhakti yoga. So this is the ladder in which different types of yoga, according to different types of consciousness. Of course, in today's world, it is this Ashtanga yoga, which is very, very, very popular. Keep in mind that whatever stage that we are in, Krishna never lets go of the hand of his devotee. He'll never do that. We may forsake Krishna. Krishna never forsakes us. So as you're climbing this ladder, try to visualize that Krishna is lending his hand, picking you up, steadying you, so that you don't fall down, come crashing down over here. So this is what the different types of yoga are. Now, if we go a little bit more detail This is because, one is we don't have much time, so we'll cover the Ashtanga Yoga. And there are these, Ashta means 8, Anga means limbs, Ashtanga. So from your beginning stage, you're trying to climb up that ladder and get to a state of Samadhi. Samadhi is where your consciousness is totally absorbed, no distractions, nothing. Now, there are these starting from the first don'ts, do's and don'ts, then different postures, asanas, breathing techniques, then how you withdraw your mind from all material stimuli. Then there is dharana, focus. Dhyana is deep meditation. And then finally, you get to the stage of samadhi. The modern yoga, what is popularly practiced, is simply these item number 3 and 4, asana and pranayama. So what the purpose of yoga is, what yoga is, etc., is completely missed. And it's just these 3. So for example, someone may be very good at contorting his or her body in this way or that way, but without doing any yama and niyama, consciousness won't get uplifted. Consciousness will remain as is or could get worse. So we need to follow the way it's meant to be, then it becomes meaningful, then there is a better chance of success. Hare Krishna. Now, siddhis, what are siddhis? Okay, siddhis are spiritual powers. You could consider it spiritual power, and it is attained by those who have attained perfection in yoga. Now, once you get to this previous slide, what we had spoken about, this yoga aruddha stage, once you get to that advanced stage, there are these siddhis that a person is attains that. So there are these 8 different types of siddhis where he could reduce your body even to the size of an atom, which Shri Hanuman ji did when they trapped him. And they didn't trap him. He allowed himself to get caught in Lanka by Ravana's soldiers, and he was presented in front of Ravan, and they lit his tail. He immediately shrunk in size, even when he infiltrated Lanka. And he also expanded his size fantastically while carrying the mountain to bring Sanjeevani for Shri Lakshmana. So like this, there are different prowesses that a yogi can attain through these practices. And if you see item number 6, the prakamya is what Kardama Muni exhibited by creating a palace, in the sky. Now, usually our understanding is when any development project, construction project goes on, there'll be machinery, there'll be people working, there'll be material, iron, cement, this, that, electrical, all those things are happening. So there is a certain process, if you look at it, certain process and something comes. So we have conditioned to understand things by cause and effect. So when you read something like it, chances are it may seem to be a little outlandish. Is this an exaggeration? How can you just think of it and your palace is built? So for a moment, let's keep this yogic siddhi to the side, and now let's consider science. And 3-4 years back, there's a company called Solar Foods. I think it's in Finland. Solar Foods literally creates protein from thin air, literally. Now, if I told this to you, that you can make food from thin air without giving you a background, you would not believe me. You think I'm fooling you or that I have gone mad. But there is a process, that there are microbes, these microscopic organisms. There are these microbes, we can't see them, and there is a process where these microbes, along with electricity, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, whatever, is brought together, and literally from thin air, they're making food, and which will sustain. And that food apparently has many more, much better nutrient than commonly grown food, less damaging to Mother Earth in terms of the environmental pollution, things like that. Now, if we understand the process, then things don't seem to be magic. As long as we are ignorant of how things work, it appears to be magic. So a person, let's say, who's in the Amazon forest, and there are people still living, 2023, no contact with the outside world, very, very primitive. If such a primitive person sees an aeroplane flying in the sky, he'll be totally bewildered. His experience of anything flying in the sky is these little birds. And here you have a huge roaring thing streaking across the sky. What's he going to think? Now, if you tell him a man like you has made this, he's not going to believe it. But for those of us who travel by airplane since several decades and years, it's not magic. We know what the airplane is. So similarly, over here, the Siddhis, we are primitive. Our consciousness is very, very primitive. We don't understand what things are. So we get baffled. And in that state of being bewildered, we reject it or we ridicule it. We can understand that our conditioned state, our consciousness is conditioned. You know, these defects that we have, tendency to make mistake, be in illusion, cheat, be cheated, imperfect. This is our condition. So how can the imperfect understand something which is perfect? Apne balbute pe nahi hoega ye. So that is why it requires a genuine teacher, and it requires at least a little faith to start with, because it's totally outside whatever is our scope of understanding, totally outside. So you have a little bit of faith. Yes, I don't know everything. I would like to know more about it. And then there is a teacher who knows it, whose goal is not to exploit you, but to uplift you. And a teacher who himself has seen and realized what he's talking about. And he'll tell you, do this, do that, whatever it is. So once you get into this process, then it doesn't seem to be an exaggeration. And when you start practicing, it becomes a reality for you. So yes, all these eight siddhis is attainable by a jiva. Of course, in today's state, where it's so degraded, just getting to this state, yama niyama, you know how difficult it is. When Ekadashi comes, there is one of the niyam, austerity. You know, there are certain purposes why you do it. How difficult, you're waiting till prana time. There are asanas, pranayama. It is not easy. Then getting to the stage 5, 6, 7, 8 is a very, very tall order for the conditioned state that we are all in. So it comes to then what is the perfected state of yoga? The scriptures declare that it is bhakti yoga. Bhakti comes from the word bhaja. So when you have bhakti yoga, connecting to Krishna by means of loving devotional service, that is the highest perfection. And finally, bhakti yoga, under the guidance of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, bhakti yoga automatically includes everything else, the other types of yoga. You don't have to separately do that. Then the process is through the ABCD, association, books, chanting, and controlling the diet and engaging in deity worship. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everybody. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If you have any questions, you could please post it in the Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya group. Hare Krishna. Over to you, Madhupati Prabhu.
Thank you, Amritanbu. We'd like to thank everybody. A safe and Krishna conscious day and weekend ahead. Special weekend. We'll have Snan Yatra of Lord Jagannath tomorrow in the evening at the temple. His Holiness Asit Krishna Maharaj will be with us both tomorrow and on Sunday. Apart from that, Govinda special will be on for tomorrow. All you can eat lunch buffet. And we'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Sino Singho, Jano Singho, Jai Jano
Jai
Singho,
Jai
Praladesha Jaya
Praladesha Jaya
Padmamukha
Padmamukha
Padmalingam,
Padmalingam,
Ugravida Mahavishnu
Ugraveedam
Jalantam
Mahavishnu Jwalantam
Sarvatomukham,
Sarvatomukham
Narsingam
Narsingham
Vishnu Bhadram
Rudram
Mrityum Namami.
Mrityum Namamyam.
Nrsimha Bhagwan ki Jai,
Jai.
Prabhupada Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Let's offer our humble obeisances to all the Samal Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpatarubhayasya kripa sindhu patitanam pavanebhyo
Namo Namah.
Vaishnavinda ki jai,
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai,
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Hari 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 Bol.
Hari Hari Hari
Thank you,
Bol.
Amrita.
Thank you, everybody.
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Bol. Hare Krishna.